Hello and welcome to the Voice of Todd. I am Tom and today we're going to talk about the latest episode of WandaVision. This is WandaVision Season 1 Episode 6 and it's titled Episode 6. So there's quite a lot to talk about with this one. Some potentially big things have been revealed. As you can probably tell, I am struggling with the sunlight in the studio. It's just coming at me from every angle right now. It's just that time of day. But we'll crack on. I think in this there is quite a lot of things being set up, more than I initially imagined from the idea of a Marvel TV series. There will be spoilers for this episode, so if you haven't seen it, it's about half an hour long. Put your feet up, make a brew, just relax. I'll still be here when you come back. For those of you that are still here, or anyone who has just rejoined, welcome. We're going to jump in like we did last week, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on how characters were, really focusing on certain characters. But with that, first point I want to make is the 90s vibe. Every week we're getting a different decade of TV, and as always they absolutely nail the 90s. We know it's the 90s because of the crazy child to camera conversations that happened, things that happened in that decade. It has that kind of chaoticness to the opening vibes that was cool in the 90s as well. There is also a PS1 in there, so we know it's the 90s. We're looking like next week will be turn of the millennium. I didn't think we'd actually get there, to be honest. It feels like this is going to push us up to modern day, or what would be modern day in the MCU potentially. But I really thought that we'd sort of cap out at the 80s. But it works really well. Even the advert is very 90s. So again, another nice little nod to a decade that I am more familiar with than any of the others. But let's get into my big takeaways. These are in no real order, although there is a slight order to my enjoyment of what's happening. But this is the Halloween episode that we've all seen in the trailers. And a big shout out to whoever's idea it was to put Wanda, Vision and Pietro in their original costumes. I don't know how accurate they are to what was originally drawn when the characters were first introduced into the Marvel Comics, but it's a nice nod. Does it give us a few clues at certain characters' real identities? Yes, I'm looking at you, Agnes. But I wanted to sort of kick off with our newest, Pietro. Everybody's favourite crazy uncle. He brings a very different, very chaotic energy to the show. I do like his inclusion, I do like how Peter Evans is playing him, although his accent has disappeared, just like Wanda's. And he also brings with him a lot more questions than answers, really. Wanda does start at a point by probing his memory of their childhood, and they seem to remember events fairly differently, but I think Pietro's onto her. He certainly knows what she's doing, or understands what she's doing. He mentions that she could have repressed some of these memories through the trauma of the events, which I think is quite an interesting thing to point out, where we're dealing with someone whose life has been trauma for as long as we can remember it. As I say, there is this moment where she's questioning him, she's asking him things that only the real Pietro would remember, which he kind of brushes off to one side. But they both know that he looks different. They don't seem to address it, certainly not yet. But we do find out what happened to him before he entered Westview. He was shot in the street for some unknown reason to him. But the real Pietro would know, right? He would know that he died trying to save Hawkeye from Ultron, or Ultron's bots, or whatever it was. Can't remember that far back. So maybe this isn't the real Pietro. But maybe this isn't the Fox Pietro either, because the Fox Pietro wouldn't know that. I don't remember the Fox Pietro getting shot. I haven't seen Dark Phoenix was the last one. But I think that we'd know if Quicksilver had been killed. But again, it's more questions than answers. But he does know things that he probably shouldn't. He does know Vision's dead. And he does spill that in front of the twins. But I do think he's Pietro. I just don't know where he's from. The twins, there's not really much to touch on here. Tommy has super speed. Billy gains his powers later on in the episode, but he's very much like Wanda's telekinesis. Again, I'll touch on that point when we get to Wanda. But they're very much... They have a bigger part in this episode, as you'd expect with a 90s TV show. But there's still a lot of questions surrounding them. They learn a lot of things this episode that isn't addressed in this episode. So next week could be very big in terms of what revelations we get, especially with these twins, I think. But they're fine. The actor that plays Billy is in Colour Out of Space, which is an incredible film with Nicolas Cage. You should look it up. It's brilliant. If you like crazy zany stuff like WandaVision, definitely give that a go. But over to Sword, and I still think Hayward is a total jerk. We do get to see why he's a total jerk though. And he's keeping a lot of secrets from everyone, as you would probably expect from somebody in his higher level of command. But things come to a head with him and Rambo Jr. As you would expect when a lower ranked officer or agent, I guess she is, keeps undermining him. He has her, Darcy and Jimmy arrested and thrown off the base. But he does reveal that he remembers everything that happened in the 5 years during the blipping and the unblipping, and that's such a fucking stupid way of putting it. But everybody remembers. They remember the years when people had disappeared. It was probably quite clear. But I think this is the first time that it's really only hammered home. So that, if done correctly, could be an amazing story arc that Marvel can do with someone. If they handle it properly. But he's had enough of Rambo Jr. And as I say, they are kicked off the base. Which takes us to Rambo Jr., Jimmy and Darcy. Junior pops off at Hayward. He does get very personal. And Jimmy actually stands up for his colleagues. I like Jimmy, he seems like a stand-up guy. And he's also pretty quick on the uptake. Where after they are executed, they're not executed, it's not that kind of show yet. After they are removed from the immediate base and they're on the outskirts, Jimmy's the one who takes out 2 of the Sword agents that are surrounding them. He's great, I like him. And I like that they feel that they can actually let a male character have some of the big moments. Because it did seem very Rambo Jr. focused in these parts earlier on. She still does okay. She does take out one of the agents, but it's nice that we get a Jimmy moment, because I'd love to see more of Jimmy. Hopefully he'll get his own show at some point. Also, Darcy can now hack Sword's database. I don't remember ever doing that before, but whatever. She finds a load of files. I have taken screenshots. I'm going to try and look into them and see if there's any cute clues that we can find. If there's anything interesting, I might put out a video between now and next week. We'll see if it means anything. It certainly won't to me, but if it brings anything up that I find interesting, I will let you guys know. But Rambo Jr.'s blood work is in, and no one's told her that whatever happens when you pass through the barrier, It's changing your DNA, hinting that she's going to be getting powers for Phase 4. I think we already knew that Rambo Jr. was going to become a superhero. I don't know what, I think she has numerous names. As I say, my comic knowledge isn't great, but it's definitely hinting at a way that they can make that happen within the realm of the MCU. But it's fine, because Rambo Jr. has a plan. She has a guy who can help her and Jimmy get into the Hex, I guess we're calling it. Has to be Doctor Strange, right? Gotta be Doctor Strange. Who else can get them through there? But anyway, that's sort of where we leave them. Darcy is staying behind. She's going to do some more hacking. They do find out that Vision is being tracked by Hayward, and they can ping all the people that are in the dome by using Vision as some sort of tracer. Don't know how it works, but for some reason Hayward seems more focused on Vision than Wanda at this point. Although he wants to take Wanda out, could it just be asset denial? Or was SWORD doing something to Vision when they had him in their lab? We'll find out. Hopefully this is all explained. We only have 3 episodes left though, which is an hour and a half. Well, let's take a look at the advert before we get on to WandaVision and, more importantly, Agnes. This week's advert, in true 90s style, is about kids' yogurts. It's a stop motion advert of a starving kid, or it's meant to be a stop motion advert of a starving kid on an abandoned island, and a surfing shark, because why not, heads over. The kid says that he's hungry, and the shark gives him a yogurt snack called Yo Magic. The shark says he snacks on Yo Magic and he isn't hungry, and also that Yo Magic is only for survivors. That must mean something. It's clear then that somebody is eating Wanda's magic. But who? If you know, let me know in the comments, because I have no clue. I've heard things, but I've not looked into it. But is it what everybody's saying? Yes or no will do. But it's definitely hinting that something has latched onto Wanda, in my mind anyway. I don't know if this has come back when she was undusted, or it's something that's found her since in her grief. But there's definitely something that is feeding on Wanda, I think. And with that, let's head over to Wanda. She's still at odds with Vision. Billy even says so in the kid to Cam moment. She's out with Pietro and the twins for Halloween, and she meets Herb, who makes it very clear that any changes, anything that she needs, he can have done. Everybody's trying to keep her happy. Everybody in the town clearly knows she is in control. And the moments where it was unknown seem to be slipping away. The consciousness that has inhabited all of the townsfolk is definitely trying to please Wanda. I don't know what that means, but I'm sure we'll get answers. But I also don't know if Wanda's in complete control. There is a moment where she and Pietro were talking about it, about how she did all of this. She made this perfect town. Pietro specifically asks, and she admits that she doesn't know. She just felt totally alone. It's almost like at that point, that question, that realization of what's happening broke reality for her, and she actually looks over to Pietro and sees him. It's still Evan Peters, but he has, I think it was 3 bullet wounds and blood coming out of his mouth. He looks very grey. He looks dead. He's a reanimated corpse, let's be clear. But why then is it Evan Peters and not Aaron Taylor Johnson? but it's very much like she saw Vision in episode 4. And then Billy gets his powers because he can hear Vision's in trouble. His powers, like I say, are very much like Wanda's. He seems like a telepath. He can stop somebody who's running around in super speed, just like Wanda can. And it very much seems to me like... well, there doesn't seem to be any Vision in these twins at all, in the power sets that they have. Which is a little bit odd. But it's probably... the backstory of the twins is probably in the comics, and there's a reason that one's super fast and one's telekinesis or telepathic or whatever he is. But anyway, Vision's in trouble. We are going to get to Vision, don't worry. Vision's in trouble and Wanda goes full on intense. It's here that Pietro lets slip that Vision is dead in front of the twins. Wanda blasts him across the street. Maybe he's dead. We didn't see him moving afterwards. He's probably not. But she hit him pretty full on. But anyway, Wanda goes into whatever trance it is, stops time completely. Everything stops around her. Her eyes glaze over red, and she expands the dome. Hex, dome, whatever. And she blows it out so that not only does it incorporate the sword base, Darcy, pretty much all the sword agents, but also a lot more land and potentially a lot more people. And now we're on to my favourite part of the series and this episode. I'm a big fan of Vision. I didn't realise I was this big of a fan of Vision. He's lying to Wanda. Again, he's trying to work out what's going on. He's investigating the outskirts of the town in this episode, and the further he gets out from the central area, either it be their house or the town square or Wanda, the people are slipping from her control and moving normally into just being held in stasis. So maybe Wanda is stopping all these people and something else is controlling them, or maybe she just isn't powerful enough to control everyone, so they're just held in stasis. Which makes me think that this extension that she has just done, this huge extension of the dome, could actually cause things to start to slip and fragment, and we're going to start to get a lot more issues moving forward. But with Vision, as he's heading out, he starts to get a bad vibe. He changes from his Halloween traditional Vision costume to the one that we've seen in the movies, cape and everything. And then something hit me when he does the change and the soul gem, the Mind Stone, whichever Infinity Stone he has in his head. It always flashes yellow, and you can see the lines moving around his face and his body, whatever, when he changes. But how does he have the Mind Stone? The one from their universe was destroyed by Thanos between Infinity War and Endgame. And the one that was used to stop Thanos was sent back in time with Cap. So in their realm, there isn't a Mind Stone. Right? Again, I really want to know how they answer that. I have no clue. But it's starting to really niggle at me now why what's going on. The more I think about it, the more I'm diving deeper. This is why the show's great. But anyway, he gets to the boundary and he finds Agnes in her car. Agnes is dressed up as a witch. Is that pointing to a true reveal of her actual character, maybe? I've seen those ideas and theories online as well. But during their conversation, again, there's some really big moments. While they're initially talking, Agnes says that she's got lost. So she's clearly not a native of Westview, which I think is big. Told you she was in on it. But also Vision uses his powers to break the mind control and reveal the real Agnes to him, whoever she is. She doesn't flip out like Norm did last week. She's definitely unsure, she's a little cagey, but she's more with it, and she does recognise him. She calls him an Avenger. Vision doesn't know what this is. And at that point, she asks if she's dead, which he says no, and asks why. And she says, because he is. So now Vision, he puts Agnes back under the spell at that point, and she drives off. But now Vision knows, not only is something not right, not only is the things that he can't remember that he's meant to have done, he's also dead. And Vision tries to break through the barrier to see what's on the other side. This is where my idea with the Mind Stone really went haywire. Because as Vision breaks through the boundary, and Sword are just looking on at this point, they're all outside, they've been tracking him, they know where he is. They're just watching him as he breaks through the barrier. He cries for help, he wants help for the people inside, but he's breaking up. It's really weird, it's like he's being dusted. All of the parts that are being pulled off him are flying back into the dome, hitting the dome and almost burning up. But as these chunks are flying off him, you can see like a yellow wire frame underneath him. Obviously the Mind Stone is shooting electrolytes or whatever it is through his body that powers him. That's still happening, even when he's only just outside the dome, even when he's outside the dome, but it's ripping him apart, which is why at this point Wanda expands the dome. But there's clearly some sort of power holding him together so that he's able to do that. Because if he was dead, he would just get out the dome and collapse, wouldn't he? So has she put some kind of Mind Stone in him? More questions than answers, folks. But we do get one last shot of Vision after the hex has been expanded. He does seem intact. He's probably alive, but we don't actually know. He was all on his own by the boundary, or what used to be the boundary. So much happened in this episode. For a show that's only half an hour long, which seems to be the theme with the Disney Plus stuff. The Mandalorian is a little bit longer, but for a show that's only half an hour long, they are packing so much in these last few episodes. I do think there's a lot of things in here that's pointing to Wanda going insane. I still think Vision won't make it out of the season alive. I don't know what to make of Pietro, because he's either Aaron Taylor Johnson Pietro with a different face, or he's Evan Peters Pietro with different memories, but the wounds seem consistent with the wounds that Aaron Taylor Johnson's Pietro suffered when fighting Ultron in Age of Ultron. What's going on? It's so confusing. As I say, I don't know if the Fox Quicksilver was gunned down. It might have been, and I've just missed it. And somehow that was prefaced with Age of Ultron, and that's linked the two characters together in some way with the idea of the Disney Fox merge. I wouldn't have thought. I think that's going far too tinfoil hat, but I don't know. Rambo Jr.'s DNA getting rewritten or coded or whatever's happening leans to the future of the MCU too. They clearly want her in it more. They're going to give her superpowers. I think she's going to be in the Doctor Strange sequel as well as Wanda. I don't know. But all of that leads me to think that this guy has to be Doctor Strange. I said it last week, Doctor Strange must be in this series at some point, and I think it's all leaning to that. Next week, if we don't get Doctor Strange, then I'm wrong. But I don't like being wrong, and I don't think I am. I think there will be something. I also really like Jimmy. I really hope that we get more Jimmy post this season. I think WandaVision is a limited series, and I don't know if there's going to be much more. But this show continues to amaze me. There's so much going on, and there's so much more happening than I was expecting from Marvel's first foray into TV, like proper MCU TV shows. I'm really surprised, not only just by how good it is, because it is much tighter and it seems much more consistent than The Mandalorian. But what they're doing and how they're seeding in Phase 4, bearing in mind that we should have had 3 films from Phase 4 by this point, if things hadn't have gone crazy in the world outside. It's really cleverly done, it's well handled, and because I think the showrunner and the director are constant throughout, that really leans into why the consistency is there. I do have a couple of questions for you guys. First one is, who is eating Wanda's magic? Let me know in the comments below, because I really want to know. I really want to find out now. I don't want to wait 3 weeks, because I need to know now. My other question, and this is something that I've been battling with for quite a while, but was compounded last week when I watched the trailer for the Super Bowl. Do you care about Falcon and Winter Soldier? Because I don't. I think it looks terrible. The last TV show that I've seen with Anthony Mackie as the lead was cancelled because it was terrible, and it ruined a series that I loved. Again, I don't think that was Anthony Mackie's fault, but he wasn't good in it. And I don't think Sebastian Shaw is... I don't think he's enough of a leading partner to him. And the idea of them just bickering all the time and being childish just doesn't interest me. So let me know if you're interested in Falcon and Winter Soldier in the comments as well, because I'm trying to gauge if there's any interest in doing that for the channel. I probably will. I'll definitely watch the first episode and see what I think. And I hope, like this, I will be surprised. But I'm really down on that for some reason. But anyway, as always, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.